record. And then Gina, you're going to be the host. Thank you so much. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our last webinar for the Swim for Akhira campaign. We're so excited to have you here with our amazing guests, Jeri and Khadijah. And today's topic is the reality and the struggle of triathlon racing and swimming for Muslim women athlete. And so here, Bismillah. My name is Ola, and I'm a swim instructor, certified personal trainer, and also I am the podcast host of Purposeful Fitness with Coach Ola. And I started Fit for Akhira in 2014 with the vision to have a more stronger, confident, and hopeful ummah. And Jeri is a I would let Jeri introduce herself. So Jeri, would you please introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Jeri Villarreal, and I am Muslim woman, mother of three, and I work full-time in information technology, and I am a triathlete. And I got started just because I wanted to stop saying no to everything and try to do something new. And I had no idea what it was, but I said, yeah, I'll do it.
Awesome. Thank you. And our second athlete is Khadijah Dix. Did I say it right?
Yes. Yes, Khadijah Diggs.
Awesome. So please introduce yourself to our audience.
I'm a mom also. I also work in information technology. I'm an engineer by education, but I'm a project manager for a local energy company, a regional, I should say, because it covers a couple of states. I started triathlon as part of an initiative for the sorority that I belong to, Gamma Gamma Chi Sorority Incorporated. It's a Islamic-based sorority. And I love to race. I love to race. So that's
Awesome.
me.
Thank you so much for coming on. This is exciting. Um, our objectives for today is to talk about our journeys to triathlon, racing, and how it all started. Of course, from the professional perspective, the reality of racial struggles for swimming and sports, the reality behind triathlon trainings, the reality behind the races itself, and our experiences with triathlon and swimming, and of course, any open discussion and Q&A. So feel free to ask us while we also are talking. We will get to it as well. So our journeys in triathlon races and how it all started. I'm not a professional triathlon. I only did one mini triathlon, so I have a little bit to say. But Jeri, we're going to start with you first. Would you please tell us about what was your journey like and how did it all start for you?
It started, I guess, I started running well before I started triathlon, and I started with running because my sister just asked me if I wanted to try that, and I just running, swimming, biking, all of that. I just never thought that I would be able to do it well, so I just never really tried to do it at all. And I started off running a little bit, and then I realized that, the more you run, the better you get, the faster you get. And so that's why one of my mom's friends asked me if I would be interested in starting triathlons. And at the time, I was just like right at that period of time in my life where I just realized that I had said no to so many things in my life. And if I had just started to say yes, I think that amazing things would happen. And so that's what I did. I just said yes. I didn't even think about it. I said, I don't know what that is. And I said, but yes, I'll do it. And then I just researched it, joined a tri club that day, and went to like the next meeting. And I just, that year I raced eight. I was in 8 races, and I just, I downloaded a training plan off of the internet and followed that and just started training. I couldn't swim from one end of the pool to the other, but I took breaks in the middle and then I'd keep going. And then one day I realized that I did a 100 and I was like, oh my God, I did a 100, you know? So everything was like that. I just started little and then I got better and better. And it's been amazing. I'm glad that I said yes.
Awesome, mashallah. That's like triathlon is definitely not easy. I only did the mini like 15-minute swimming, and that itself like was hard. So I'm trying to like, imagine. We will talk more about it. Inshallah, Khadijah, what about you? How did it all start for you?
I was responsible for an initiative for my sorority, a health care initiative, and I was an over yes person. I wasn't the no person. I'd say yes to anything, but I just wanted to do something different. So I was like, oh, I saw that IronMan thing on TV, but then I was thinking that's really long. But then I heard about sprint triathlon, so I signed up for the Iron Girl sprint triathlon in Lake Lanier, Georgia. Um, I felt because I was doing, little 5K road races, and I had always been a swimmer. I don't remember in my life not knowing how to swim. My father taught me how to swim as a child, even though I never swam competitively. I thought this would be easy. I had this down. And I trained on my spin bike in my basement. And I think a week before the race, I bought a fixie bike from Walmart. And for those of you that don't know what a fixie is, it has no gears. And for those of you who have been to Georgia, the ride was hilly and I had no gears. So my first triathlon was a complete disaster. I swam okay. Uh, when the bike was done, I was done. And I thought I was going to run fast because I was like, okay, the bike is over. That was the worst part of it. I didn't realize that my legs were dead, so I couldn't run. But I had an absolute ball. It was an all women's triathlon, and the atmosphere and the camaraderie, and there were women out there who wanted to win. There were women out there who were just trying to prove a point to say, I can cross the line. And by the end of the week, I think I had signed up for 3 more triathlons. By the end of the summer, I bought a bike with gears. And that was all she wrote. I was hooked. I've been racing ever since.
So before we go into the struggles of, that you faced, I want to say that it is very expensive. So our audience, like I also have a bike from Target. I haven't bought the professional bike yet, so I can relate to the Walmart story a little bit. But in addition, like when you both started, were you both like in hijab already? Like was it before or after?
Yeah,
I was at hijab.
Yeah, I've always raced in hijab. I converted to Islam when I was 19 in college. My father actually has a master's degree in theology, and my grandmother, even may Allah be pleased with her, she was Christian, but she had this thing where she always prayed 5 times a day. She took And they were very supportive of my conversion to Islam. And I started wearing hijab, I think, when I was 21 or 22.
That's awesome, mashallah. So now we can talk about the struggles that we all have faced. So let's start with Jeri first. So what struggles have you faced as you started with the journey, and anything in between as well?
Yeah, I think the first struggle was just gear and finding the right gear for me. Searching, lots of Googling, and coming back with like nothing that I would want to swim or bike or run in. And then, and then, just kind of finding other people too. I mean, I think I probably met you, Khadijah, like, it's been like 5 years, right? Has it been 5 years?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I actually posted the recording of when we
Yeah.
first met each other in person.
Right.
It was like 2 unicorns had found each other. It was
So I mean, like, at least like finding other people too really helped. But at first you feel like you're the only one. And to find out that I wasn't, I mean, was amazing, first of all. And then, Khadijah is really good with sharing information and just kind of like, like I would see her in something, I'm like, hey, where'd you do that? Or how'd you do that? Or what's that? Different brands that I researched and found. and just trying them out. I mean, I probably spent a lot of money and a lot of gear just trying out things that worked or didn't work, that got hot, that, whatever, weren't hydrodynamic, or, things that didn't just work out for me. There was not a complete perfect thing for me yet. To find that was, I guess I'm still kind of searching a little bit, but just finding what really works and what doesn't work was probably the biggest struggle for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the clothing part is definitely the hardest part that I also faced with the mini one. What about you, Khadijah? Like, what struggles have you faced the whole journey? Yes, Khadijah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So yes, now I can.
Okay, okay.
Now I didn't hear your question. Internet pause for a second.
So where are the struggles that you faced in getting started with the
Yeah.
whole triathlon?
I think it's very similar. The gear is one of the most difficult things. I know for some people it's the swimming and the gear. For me, like I said, even though I was never competitive swimmer, I wasn't afraid to swim. I actually learned how to swim in open water. It was the gear. And I was telling Ola, I have the history of my gear right here with me. So when I first started, I couldn't find hijabs that were cool. There were some brands that were out there. So I ended up making my own hijab out of cool caps that bald men wear. And I found sports fabric that I used to drape over my neck. And I made these for 2 years. And then you may find on my website there, Nike came out with their hijab, and I wore it, and I thought I was going to burst into flames, and I continued to wear my own hijab. What I found as a compromise for this swim was an open water swimsuit. It was FINA approved, but they, for open water racing, the swimsuits do come down to your ankles. So I wore open water swimsuit and just a Walmart dry fit shirt, and I put my sorority logo on it. This is actually a patch I sewed onto it because I saw everybody else had logos on their shirts, so I was going to have a logo on mine. So I put my sorority, and that's what I raced in for the first 2 years. And nobody said anything or complained about what I wore until I won a race. Then it was a problem. So then I had to start doing research on USA Triathlon, what was considered legal, what was considered not legal. And I started, at that point, I got a sponsor. So I had a sponsor kit, and I modified the sponsor kit to cover my legs. And mind you, it's just this little bit of your body, cover from my elbow to my wrist and cover my knee down to my ankle that wasn't compressive. So the rules were you could be covered, but it couldn't be compressive. So I started wearing that. And even with that, I went through all kinds of issues. I had a young lady, as we were on the podium, say in front of everyone, yeah, she won, but why does she get to cheat? Wow. She said this in public in front of other people. Tried to pull me off the start line because of my gear, even though it had been approved by USAT and approved by the race director. They tried to stop me from racing. And that's how I met one of my closest friends, Tom Shear. He and another gentleman conveniently got in their way before the horn got off, and I dove in the water and started the race before they could stop me. And it was the main thing is the gear and lack of awareness by others. And that's part of what I do, is share with people what I wear, why I wear it. And it creates a little bit of drag, but that's fine. That's fine. I'd rather be me and be a second per 100 slower than, not be me and be faster.
Yeah, so it's always coming back to the clothing and then the perception of like us being covered up, because again, I only did one triathlon, so I cannot even like talk about it, but like I'm trying to imagine like how it is to be in the open water. So when it came to open water, like how was the transition when it comes to like, changing clothes, gear, in the public? Because for me, I was at Mason's. I was able to go to the locker room. But how is it for, you know, your experience in that aspect? Hijab and cover and all that.
I wear the same thing all the way through. The only race where I was totally shocked when I did my first Ironman, my intention was I knew it was going to be wetsuit legal, so I just wore my my open water swimsuit, and my intention was take off my wetsuit and then put on a cycling jersey and then put on a run shirt for the run. But when I went into the locker room not the locker room, but they have this tent at the Ironman races.
Yeah.
Everybody was butt naked. And I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? And I don't know what your experience was in Arizona, Jeri, but I was just like, people.
I saw a lot of bare butts.
Like, oh. But even now for my Ironman races, people ask me how I transition so fast. I don't stop. I'm taking off my wetsuit as I'm running. My bag has, and I cycle in what I swim in, and I've literally learned how to put on my hijab with one hand. I don't stop. So for me, there's no changing in public.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say my first one, I brought other clothes, and I realized it wasn't practical. And that was basically what I built towards, was making sure that I had something that I didn't have to change. Because I'm like, I can't change. It's impossible. There's no modest way to do it. It's just, even with the tent, there's no modest way to really do it. You'd need to have like a portable one that's like right around you.
Yeah.
But so, I just make sure. And usually I think the last few races I've raced in a wicking hijab, and I just swam in it, and I just took off the swim cap, and it was like no big deal. I think for Arizona, I didn't wear a hijab. I wore a swim cap, I think.
Yeah,
and
it was
then
so
I
cold.
put on
It was freezing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. It's all coming back to me.
And I have to say that was literally one of the greatest races of my life, not because of the performance, but knowing that there were other hijabis in that race. I think my face was stuck on smile. I was just, and when I saw you on the bike, when we were, how the loops are, and I saw you on the bike, because the first loop I didn't see you, and the second loop when I saw you, she saw me fist pumping across the lane, and I was so excited. It was
so cool. It was super cool.
I have a funny, embarrassing story. Like, it's being recorded, so I'm not gonna go into much depth in here. But it's really embarrassing because the first one, of course, I wore like the bathing suit, whatever, like shorts. The next lane to me is a guy. And so instead of like me going from the diving board, right, like next to it, I go into the little space. There's the divider of the pool. There's a metal piece, and that metal piece got stuck in my swimsuit, and it got torn. And I like swam. I saw I saw some black fabric like falling in the water. I'm like, okay, well, hopefully like nothing's too big. And it was really embarrassing. I hope like it. I came out of the water, like nothing was showing anything, but it was really, really, really awkward that day. And my mom was like, didn't feel comfortable about me like swimming. But I'm like, no, I have to. This is my first ever like mini triathlon. I need to feel the experience. And of course, it was a disaster. Clothing issues. So, all the respect. Okay, our next slide is a reality of Rachel's struggles. So I want to ask you, how have you ever experienced like anything with this topic, getting where you are today? Like, that's the first question. So I'll let Khadijah go first, and then I'll let Jeri speak about it.
Yeah, I think one thing that Jeri and I both have in common, I am Black, Hispanic, and Muslim. And I know Jeri, I don't know if Jeri is Hispanic herself, but I do know she's married to a man who's Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And most of my issues have come because of my hijab, not because of my race. but I do know that Atlanta has a huge triathlon community. I also belong to an organization called BTA, which is Black Triathletes Association. And I have literally never been to a race and someone from that organization not be there to support me. So from that perspective, I've been completely blessed. And they've actually shielded me from some of the issues that I've had as a Muslima. One of the ladies who I saw just join, Jaja, she belongs to BTA with me. Hey, Jaja.
Hi.
She started, Augusta is one of the races I love to do because there's so many newbies there. A lot of people from Atlanta do that race. She started with me at IronMan Augusta 70.3. And this was one of the races where I had issues with officials, and an official literally grabbed my arm and said, "Hey, wait a minute, this is a non-wetsuit race." And I had on my Team USA uniform. So there was no question that it was a legit uniform. The only thing that stopped this man from pulling me off the line was the announcer knew me from previous races and said, "Oh, wait a minute." He literally said, "That's Khadijah." Like, if you say that's Khadijah, somebody's going to know who that is. We know her. She's fine. And I've, like I said, I am so blessed to have all these people. I call them all my little angels, because every race I go to, there's somebody there to protect me. And literally, if Jaja had to, she would have let him know. So like I said, most of my issues have come simply because of this little piece of material, the covering of my forearms and the covering of my calves. Unbelievable.
I'm nodding, but I want to see from your perspective, Jeri, and your experiences. What have you like? Yeah, if you don't mind sharing, all right, your experience, please.
Yeah, I would agree with Khadijah. I've never had any racial type issues in triathlon. I've had comments made that, I think I was sharing with you the one time that I was waiting to get into, it was a pool swim, and then the rest was outdoors. And this lady turned around and said to me, she goes, "Oh, every time I see you race, I just feel so sorry for you." And it was just the most awful thing to say to me before I'm about to get into the water. I didn't even know how to respond, of course, and in the moment. And I just started to feel really, really bad, which is funny because I usually don't let that stuff get to me. I would probably use it to fuel somewhere else. I'd be like, "Oh, you feel sorry for me? You're about to feel sorry for, you're about to feel sorry for yourself," kind of thing. But that time it actually bothered me quite a bit. And because I started down this road of, do other people feel sorry for me when they see me race, or all that mind stuff. And that was already going on because I was getting in the water, first race of the year. But yeah, it was just comments like that. And I you would think that people would be so conscious of the race that they wouldn't have time to make little side comments while you're running by or on the bike, or "Aren't you hot?" or "Gosh, you have a lot of clothes on," or it's just stuff like that. I'm like, aren't you in a race? Like, what are you doing talking to me? But people have a lot of little comments to make about it. I don't like that I have to go to a race official, that whole just nervousness of the fact that they might say something other than what I want to hear, or that I have to come and prove my case every time that I race in a 70.3. Just going to tell the race official, "Okay, yeah, I know it's not wetsuit legal, but this is what I'm wearing. No, there's no compression, But most of my 70.3s have been out of the country. And I would say that in Mexico and in Colombia, they were amazing. I mean, they were just like, the answers that I got were, they were in Spanish, but they were just basically like, "Well, what you gonna do?" Just kind of like, "Well, yeah, of course, you're gonna cover, because that's what you do now." Like, I come to them covered and I say, "I'm gonna wear this because, this is what I race in. It has no compression." And they're like, "Okay." And they just tell all the other officials and it's a done deal. So, I like that so much better. And but yeah, I mean, I think I would agree that it's usually not a race thing. It's usually a hijab thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even I have faced that struggle, like that situation in a just a regular pool. Oh, like she felt so sorry for me. I'm like, no, sorry for your like, yeah. So I can relate for that aspect. What are your recommendations for someone dealing with that struggle as a hijabi in our community and who wants to become an athlete perhaps, but like has that fear of like, oh, the clothing or even if it's like racial situation. Um, Khadijah, want to go first?
Um, if you love to do something, don't let somebody else steal your joy. Somebody else asked me that. Also, reach out to other people. I I didn't know Jeri existed. I can't remember how we actually connected, but I think it was either somebody asked me, was I Jeri, or
Oh
they
yeah, that
asked,
was how it was.
yeah, and I'm sitting here, and then I think I Googled her, and I'm like, this lady's like 5'10". Wait, she was me. And we connected for about a year and a half on just back and forth through Instagram and Facebook, and we finally met each other in person. And like I said, from a racial perspective, and maybe it's just the people that are involved in triathlon, there are so many people that I've been able to reach out, Black, white, Asian, who've just whatever, to get advice from. And I kind of take a little bit of this and take a little bit of that and blend it together. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't let anybody steal your joy. If you want to do it, just do it. And don't think that you are less than. You can be just as good as anybody else. People who know me know I say I don't like to do triathlon. I like to race. I've been known to talk trash at races. One of my closest friends, one of her mantras is uh, chasing KD, and I'm like running from Vaughn. I love the competition. It's healthy competition, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just be you, do you.
Yes, that's awesome. I like very good one. And what about you with you, Jeri? What are recommendations? The mindset is a huge one as Khadijah emphasized on it. What else do you
Yeah.
recommend?
Yeah, mindset is like 100%. And yeah, the one race where I was trash talking the entire time because I had nothing better to do, I end up on the podium. I was like, trash talking is amazing.
Yes.
And then they said, why do you seem so surprised that you're up here? You were talking about it the whole time. Because I kept saying, I hope they say my name right. You guys listen for my name. And, and then they're like, you look surprised. And I said, oh, I was surprised. I was just talking trash. But yeah, mindset is like 100%. I mean, that is all that there is to it. But like my husband's like, what do you think about before the race? I think of like 1,000 things, and it's awful because I think about so much stuff. But when I get in the water, I don't think about anything else. Like that's it. Like I hear go, and that's it. Like all of those like worries, they're back there. And so that's why like I love racing. But yeah, I would not, I don't think I would let anyone tell me how I should live my life. So like in any other aspect, you wouldn't allow somebody to tell you how you should live your life. So if you want to race, you want to be in hijab, you want to, just do it for fun or whatever, you want to swim, I think you should go for it. There have been a lot of instances where I mean, if I wasn't as confident as I was about my swimming abilities, I mean, I could see where it would be very discouraging to walk in a pool with people just staring. I mean, they do that all the time. They stare for like 5 minutes while I'm swimming. And then they're like, oh, well, she knows what she's doing. And then they just move on. Um, but before, I mean,
Yeah.
it used to kind of get to me, a little bit. All these people staring at me while I'm swimming. I'm like, they have nothing better to do. But I can understand how that could be kind of discouraging to people, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, or hundreds of thousands of people in similar situations where they're doing things every day that might be something that might seem out of the ordinary to other people, but they're going for it. And I just think, you have to kind of think about that. Like I do realize that there's people with bigger struggles than I have, and they're doing their thing. So I should keep doing my thing.
Thank you so much. And this is why I think I connect with you a lot, both of you, because I also try, like, I don't, I talk back as well sometimes, which can be problematic. But at the same time, like, we have to stand up for ourselves. And with swimming, like, that's what you say, like, it pushes me forward, and, like, it makes me like, okay, they're looking at me, let me show you. It's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because, like, I noticed with myself, like, the more that I push myself in the water to prove them wrong, or prove, like, let me show you, I end up sometimes injuring myself or doing the wrong stroke just to show them. But so it's really important to, like, focus on the stroke and forget what they're thinking. A huge aspect. Thank you so much. So next one is about the reality of the actual triathlon training, the fun part. So what are your experiences training for triathlon? I will let Khadijah go first.
Did you say me first?
Yes, please. You just said you had the swimmer's eye, right?
Because I do a lot of my training at night. I, like I said, I work. I'm a mom. I train. I've changed it a little bit since we're in this kind of pause period for racing, but I generally train 13 out of 14 days. So that's my kind of train rest cycle. And it's kind of evolved as I've wanted to become more competitive with my racing. Um, Weight training is a big part of what I do. I don't miss weight training, especially for women as you get older. Uh, that's really important. And I try to make sure not to forget my run, because if I had it my way, I would just swim, bike, and lift weights all the time. So I try to make sure that I get my running in and that it's a quality run. When I first started, I was primarily focused on getting my run up to par, because I had never, my first marathon was after a 112-mile bike ride at IronMan Louisville. So I don't have that run endurance experience like a lot of people have. I was a sprinter in college. Um, right now, my focus is, I've noticed that I get out of the water middle of the pack, and um, for some reason, I guess because I was a sprinter, I happen to be a really strong cyclist, and I catch up to the front of the pack on the bike. And sometimes I'm able to get a little bit ahead. My goal now is to be right on the feet of the fastest swimming women and get away from the runners. Um, I, I, this will probably be the last time, or the next to the last time I try to do Team USA. My goal was to encourage a lot of other African Americans, and I was hoping another hijabi to make the team. In this past year, I believe there were 11 African Americans who made Team USA. And at nationals, I literally started crying, and people thought I was crying because I made the team. I was crying because the year that I made the team, it was me and one other African American man, and to see so many brown faces and faces of people who thought that they couldn't know that they could, just really, it changed my life for me. So my goal now is to try to help and encourage other people who want to make Team USA. And I am specifically, um, this could be a little bit prejudiced, but I'm specifically seeking out another hijabi who who wants to make that leap. Um, so my goals for the next 2 years are pretty lofty. I don't want to just be on Team USA. I'm putting it out there, and I'm putting it in the universe. I want to try to be on the podium at Worlds if I can, and I want to try to be on the podium at Nationals if I can. So if I don't, it's just because it wasn't written for me. But in my mind, that's what I'm shooting for. I think it's important for young women who have been told that they can't, regardless of their situation, see that they can. Because if I can, I'm everything that a triathlete is not. They know that they can. And then I feel like my job next is to encourage and train others. So that's where my mindset is at right now. But it's evolved. You go from working on one portion to another, longer training sessions. I do a lot of my training alone. Um, I know a lot of people like group training. I do, but a lot of my training I do alone. It helps me to focus on what I need to do. And I know this COVID thing is driving a lot of people crazy because they're doing a lot of their training indoors. Um, I've always done about 75, almost 85% of my cycling indoors on a kicker. It works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Now running, I can't run inside. I get 400 meters and my attention span is all over the place. But everything else I can do indoors. I put in about 15, 16 hours a week of training. Even now it's about 12 hours. But I'm focused strictly on technique and maintaining until I we get a clearer picture of what things are going to look like as far as racing is concerned.
It's awesome, mashallah. And we'll go back to the next question, but I want to hear from Jeri. What are your experiences in training for triathlon?
Um, I would say like the first couple of years I was in triathlon, the training that I did was solid. It was really good. And I think I had a good base of strength, so that was really good. And I spent a lot of time doing weights, and I think I was a lot better athlete than I am today. The thing is, like, you have to be very consistent, and I haven't been consistent for a couple of years with school and having a lot on my plate, and and since I'm not saying no, I ended up doing a lot of things that were very conflicting. So I didn't spend a lot of time training with the master's degree. I ended up studying a lot, blowing off a lot of training. So I think that just the consistency of training, when I'm like in the thick of things, we're talking about 14 hours a week, but right now I'm at 10 hours, and and it's not that I don't want it or don't like to do it, but right now I'm basically starting over again, or starting. I already have a pretty good base, but I'm just kind of starting at the beginning of my training weeks. So I think that mostly, and like Khadijah said, some people do like to train in groups, and I tried that. And I found that I wasn't really as good as I was when I was by myself. I'm very much in my head, and I push myself quite well. So for me, like group rides, they're distracting, and I love riding my bike alone. I don't know, there's something about it. So when I do group rides, I seldom get on the street. I usually um, either do it on a trail, on a very large, a long trail, or I'll do it really early in the morning. I'm an early morning trainer. I like to do it about 5 a.m. Um, that's my preferred time. I also like lunch. I also like lunchtime too. I like my runches, as I call them, where I run during lunchtime so I can come back really funky for work. And so, but yeah, I like to try to squeeze in the training around the family. It's really I think my first year training, I realized that there was a lot of time that you have to dedicate, and I spent a lot of time trying try to get my training in, and I hardly saw my family. So the second year, everything is going to be morning at 5 a.m. and lunchtime, and that's it. And then the rest of my day is for my family. And I think that worked out a lot better. It made me an exhausted sister. I mean, I'm telling you, I was exhausted because, they are expecting me to be 100% when they're with me. So I have to be 100%. I think there's a lot that goes in with, but that's just being a parent, I think, too. But they know it makes me happy, and also the best thing that I started doing, I guess, the third year was to incorporate them into some of my training too. They're not going to go on the 20-mile bike ride with me, but you know, I could get 20 in and then do 10 with them. You know, that's them being a part of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work and dedication, like a lot of respect to both of you. Because like I can only imagine. So I want to ask you, please, before the next question, how has COVID impacted your training so far? So Khadijah, would you please share how has COVID impacted right now?
Yeah, so like I said, I've completely revamped my training schedule for this year. It's entirely focused on nursing past injuries to make sure that they're completely 100% taken care of. Working on technique as far as pedal stroke is concerned from my cycling, weight training, um, swim technique so that I can swim more efficiently. I know before COVID started, I started a little project where I built an endless pool in my backyard. It took me a year and a half to do it. My neighbors thought I was crazy. They didn't know what I was doing. And I finally finished it. I didn't have a ton of money to, get the traditional endless pool. So I I started off, I built a shed, then I built the pool. So I do almost all of my swim training in the endless pool now and swimming at the lake. Um, I do miss the group. I used to use the group rides as my recovery rides. I belong to the Metro Atlanta Cycling Club, and I miss my teammates a lot. Um, and there are people still having group activities, but I don't participate. I have one child who recently survived cancer. I have another child who is a severe asthmatic, and I'm a single parent right now, and I'm not willing to take any chances. So I'm almost literally 100% isolated. I work 100% from home. My kids are homeschooled. I pulled the twins out of public school and they go to a private online school. And my other children are, there are, fortunately, our school district um, is 100% online, at least until January. So I do everything alone. I've done a few open water swims. Don't do this pretty much solo, but I did swim with a lifeguard buoy, and I did do one event hosted by my mentor, Coach Alonga. Um, I know him very well, and I knew he was going to do a good job of keeping us separated. So I did do one event with him. It was like just a time trial to see where we were in our training, but pretty much just 100% isolation, a back off on the intensity, and a focus on just being better from a technique perspective. So when I do ramp it up, it's going to be, it's going to be 45 degrees instead of 30. So that's where my head is at right now.
That's awesome. So much respect. Like I'm motivated. So what about you, Jeri? This is how has COVID impacted so far?
Um, so I don't know about you, Khadijah, but if I want to go run outside, there are way too many people running. Like there's
Same in
all of
my area.
all my trails are like packed with people. I'm like, where did you guys come from? So I have a treadmill downstairs. I'll either run super early or I'll just get on the treadmill. I'm okay with sitting. So I'm one of those weird people. I focus on like one spot on the wall or something, and I just, and I'll just stare at it for 5-6 miles. Like I know it's weird, but I can do that. So like treadmills never bother me at all. Swimming, our pool's finally open, and then we only have 45 minutes. So I would have liked to have more time swimming, but I haven't had the opportunity to do it longer than 45. So, but yeah, it's given me the opportunity to kind of focus on some things. So I wanted to focus on my swimming a little bit. So even though they're 45-minute sessions, I'll do 4 a week instead of doing the normal 3. And then, the trails for biking, for cycling is they're full as well. So I have a trainer at home, so I'll just do that instead of being outside. It just made me more inside than anything. And I got sick early on, and I have asthma, and my lung capacity just it hasn't been the same since. So I've been working at it, with the swimming and the running. I get tired a lot easier than I did before. So I feel that I'll get back there, but it just might take time.
I feel you on the crowded parks. What I do in Georgia, I run at high noon. It's so hot here. Nobody in their right mind is out there. So it's like my pseudo altitude training. It almost makes me angry because I'm like, yo, you didn't have an exercise in 50 years. Now,
now they're like, what is this outside we hear about? This is great.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah, I feel you on the crowded parks. And I've driven up and seen too many people and been like, you know what? It's going to have to be a treadmill run today.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And is like really briefly, are you able to share with us like how you grew in your training regimes, like in your workouts? Like how did that help you grow mentally, spiritually, physically, all of it? So Jared, do you mind if you can share with us like a little bit how it has helped you?
Sure. So if anybody follows me on Instagram or any of that, they know that I love planning. I love it. I love to write things down and check off that box. It just gives me such joy. And so I love having a training plan that I can visually see, and that I can complete like that. For me, my training plan is like my daily plan. It's just incorporated in there. So, if it's first thing in the morning, I know what time I'm waking up. I know what time I'm going to do Fajr. I know what time after that, I'm going to read the Quran. After that, I'm going to have my gratitude and kind of, I guess, I use that time to like plan the rest of my day, think about it, think about all the things. I think of 3 things that I feel blessed about. And it's funny because I have 3 kids now, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to cheat and put their names every single time. So I just, I had to think of 3 things. Sometimes they're just like things that had happened the day before that make me smile, or, some kindness that someone's shown. And I'll just put it there. And, that gets me in the right mindset for everything. And then I go and I do my training at like 5. And right now it's been, it's swimming I do at night. And so it's either running or on the bike. But yeah, I really like the structure. I love structure. So, and I love structure and checking boxes. So this really works for me. So it's just, I'm like, sometimes if I did like an extra something, I'll write it in just so I can check it off. So I'll be like, well, today I also did yoga. So let me write in yoga. And so I can check off yoga, because that's how much I like the feeling of success when you check off that box. That is just, to me, that's really amazing. So that's my whole training philosophy, all the way down to when I'm going to bed, just everything. I like to write it down and stick to it and look back on it and just go like, yeah, I did that. This is my week. That's the week that I did that thing. And I did everything. I checked all the boxes and all that. So that makes me feel good.
That's awesome, like dedication. What about you, Khadijah? How did you go through it?
So first of all, I'd like to point out that everybody follows Jeri on Instagram, okay?
Ever.
When I went to her Instagram page, I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, what's going on here? But yeah, for me, it's the focus. I'm one of the people, I'm an introvert. It's hard to, I know it's funny, even when we talk about, everybody's having all these, we're having these webinars and Zoom calls. I started these web get-togethers, I guess it was 2018. And my friends were like, well, why don't you just, have a real get-together? I was like, no, I think this is better. We should just get together like this so we can get together, but not really in the same place. But it's helped me come out of my shell a little bit from being so much of an introvert. Um, and it's helped me to be more of a focused person. I've always been goal oriented, but with triathlon, you have to have a set plan. You have to, just like Jeri said, you have to follow that plan. The good thing about the fact that I'm all over the place is I am flexible enough to know when something's not working to make that adjustment and be okay with it. I've seen some triathletes, like, I have a plan, I have to follow the plan, I have to tick every single box, and they've got a stress fracture. Okay, if you have that injury, okay, maybe you need to swim more, you need to back off on the running and see what type of cycling is going to keep that VO2 max as high as if you're running. So for me, it's helped me to, like I said, just be more of a structured person. And I know that sounds crazy coming from somebody who's a project manager. I think because it's my job to be structured, the me wants to be just all over the place. And like I said, come out of my shell a little bit. And the crazy thing is, one of the things that I love about triathlon is the fact that even though you have those group rides, you have those group swim sessions and group runs, the real work happens alone. When you're swimming, and that's the one thing I love about the swim. I'm not always the fastest swimmer, but I love about the swim is when I'm swimming, I hear my heartbeat, and I I hear my breath, and I feel the water rushing over my body and nothing else. And I think that's one of the things that I love about uh, swimming in the endless pool. I turn that sucker on. I don't have to worry about lifting my head to avoid rocks or boats or whatever, or look for buoys. I've literally gone in there and swam for an hour straight, and my watch has beeped, and I'm like, oh man, I've been in here for a long time. It's time to get out. But that solitude, and the solitude that I get from loading a course on my kicker and just focusing on every watt I can get out of myself for that period of time. So it's really helped me with those two things. But I like the changes in my personality. I think I've become a little bit more personable than I was before I did triathlon. So that I love that. And meeting people like Jeri really helps too. Because I said when we stayed together at Arizona, and seeing her be able to study and then turn that off and then train and then turn that off and go, that level of discipline I found that very super admirable and amazing. I've never seen anybody do that before. She was intently in studying for master's finals and focusing on an Ironman, and that was unbelievable.
That was
Yes.
crazy. I'm glad I don't have to do that again.
Yeah, I felt bad. I was like, "Yo, we have a ride. We got a ride."
Oh. I have a huge respect. Like, it takes a lot of dedication to be a triathlete. So I am admire. Like, I am growing just through hearing your journey and following it. Like, it's also helping me, like, learn and grow with you. So thank you so much. I think we're getting a little bit close to an end, but this is an important topic that I want to get over. Talk about here. It's important to talk about, being a triathlete. What has been your favorite part about it? And if you can change anything, what would it be and why? So I think Khadijah Jeri, do you mind if you can share? Oh, Khadijah's back. So let Jeri go a little bit about it, because we are getting close to an hour. But would you please kindly share with us, like, your favorite part of the triathlon that you first did, and any changes that you would like to see? Or yes.
Okay. I know my first big race outside was St. Louis Tri, and my favorite part is kind of a weird compliment. My family had all gathered, and they were looking for me, and they saw this group of riders come through on the bikes, and they're looking and they're like, and my mom says, I think that's Jeri. And my husband says, no, that person is coming in really fast. I don't think that's her. And it was me. And he was just like, I know, he was just like, oh, you can ride fast. He said that was a day where he really realized, like, with a lot of hard work and dedication, you can do amazing things. So, I mean, he said, I never would have guessed you would have been like racing. He goes, you were like focused and racing. And I'm like, yeah. So that was like the best, my favorite part of racing, of my first race. But I think in every race that I've noticed with triathlon, there's some really nice people. I think people, they always want to talk to you, they want to help, and I noticed that the first couple of years that I was racing, and then I tried to do the same. People helped me to figure out how to put my bike on the rack. People, like, which way? I'm like, okay, which way? I'm knocking down people's bikes. I don't know what I'm doing, and and I'm just like, okay, this is how you do it. I'm helping all the new people that come in. And at Chicago, I was putting all the race numbers on people because they didn't know how to use the tattoo race numbers, and I wasn't going to use mine, but I knew how to do tattoos because I got a bunch of kids that love those things. So I'm like, no, you got to pull off the paper and put it here, and I'm just showing everybody. But that's kind of like how triathletes are. They're very helpful. And I think the community is very helpful. When you see people at races, you start to know them, and it's really exciting. And I mean, I think that is probably the best thing about every race, is like seeing faces that or that you kind of know from online or from other races. It's just kind of nice. And as far as things that I would change, I mean, the only thing that I would probably change is probably the inclusivity of it. I mean, I think we need to get more people that look like us on that start line. And we also need to get it to the point where it's not a big deal. I would love to race, and it's just not a big deal when people aren't just like, hey, are you Khadijah? When I'm at the line, because it's got to be one or the other. She's either Jeri or Khadijah, and I'm either Khadijah or Jeri. So, I want to see it where there's just like so many of us that it's not a big deal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Inshallah. And I feel like that's why it's like, I want you to say it again, and preach. So yes, 100%. Khadijah, what about you? What was your first triathlon like, and anything you would like to change about it as well?
Well, I already talked about my first triathlon. I think the triathlon that really changed things for me was the first time I did a long course race, which was IronMan Augusta. I was hooked on long course. I really loved it. I thought I was gonna die, but I really loved it. I knew that long course was what I wanted to do. Um, the thing that I love the most about triathlon is the sense of community. Um, Nobody looks at me anymore as, the Muslim lady or the Muslim triathlete. Um, they they Khadijah, they know she's coming to race, and I love that. They don't see me as this outsider anymore. Um, and when I go to races, seeing all the people that I've raced with, the young lady that I room with at Worlds, we've roomed together for the past 2 World Championship races, Kathy Bowman. It's funny, at Nationals last year, she forgot something, and I had something that she could use in my bag, so I went to get it. I was putting it in her transition area, and the lady's like, well, wait a minute, you messed with somebody else's transition area. And I said, oh no, it's okay, it's my sister's transition area. Well, Kathy is 5'8". She's got blonde hair and blue eyes. And as I was finishing up, Kathy walks up and says, oh, hey, Khadijah, and I give her a hug. And the lady looks at me and puts her hands on her hips. But that's how it's become. These are just people I know. They don't see me as anybody but Khadijah. And I know it's an isolated community, and that's not what's going on in the world right now. But I appreciate that community, that kind of protected community that I have. And just to Jeri's point, inclusivity. I'm looking forward to the day when it's no big deal. I'm looking forward to the day where I don't have to get my kits approved. I know Jeri's gone through this before. Um, all my kits are ITU approved, but they're all custom made. They probably cost 3 times what anybody else's kits cost. That's why I go all out in my kits. I'm like, if I'm going to spend $400 on a kit, it better look good. So I custom design all my kits with a gentleman, Jason Reinhardt, who works with Exceed Apparel. And then, of course, my Team USA kit comes uh, from Roca. And there's a a line from a movie. The lady says, well, sometimes we have no choice but to be first. Okay, that's fine. It's a nice accolade to be first, but it's pointless if you're the last. So my goal is to share what I love with everyone.
Thank you so much for validating the point. And inshallah, I hope, that's why I'm recording this. So inshallah, like after this campaign is over, to go back to the companies and say like, hey, why are we not including the picture? Would you mind having a little bit of more inclusivity of us, like us, in the conversation? So thank you so much for sharing that. And so when it comes to swimming, this is really important, and I want to go over this as well. What motivated you to pursue swimming, but what has been the best benefits? And if you want to mention struggles, go ahead, but like the biggest benefit that you find as a swimmer or a triathlete? So
Overall fitness.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeri?
Um, I find swimming, I guess the act of it, or the training of it, to be quite motivational just in itself. I mean, I look at my times and I'm just like, oh, you could do so much better than that. What are you doing? And when I I can remember getting better, like each time. Like I told you, I was swimming and stopping and taking a breath, and then, and then going. And I remember the first training plan that I had a 10-second rest. And I'm like, oh no, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to need at least 30 seconds at the wall, but now, I mean, I don't need that, it's just, I've come such a long way. And the idea that I can just keep getting better is, to me, it's kind of amazing. So I keep working at it just so that I can get better and see those numbers change. And it just kind of puts me in a different group. I'm not like a newbie swimmer anymore. I'm now, I'm pretty proficient, or I'm not necessarily fast, but now I'm not slow either, so it's just, I like swimming because that's the one that really pushes me to try to get better. Because you could work all year and you're shaving 10 seconds off, but that's like a huge amount. that's that was that's a lot of time, actually. So I feel like I've gotten better and I can see it, and that's what keeps me, like, moving forward, and keeps me keep getting in the water, is because I keep getting better.
Yes, and I will say for mine, it's like the confidence. Like once you're in it, you build your confidence, and it just propels. And that's what you both mentioned with your stories, the experiences you get through, and then it builds up as a muscle. Um, okay, we have a few questions in the chat box. I know they were kind of answered, but just since it's being recorded, really quickly, from Heather, thank you for staying on. She said, let's term ranches. Yes. Question for Khadijah regarding swimming in an endless pool. Do you just swim by time? I'm so used to swimming by distance set, so curious of how training works in an endless pool.
Yeah. So the current changes, you can set it to different paces. So I do combinations of steady long swims, long interval sets, and then I crank it up as high as it'll go, and I'll do short intervals. Because of the size of the motor that I have, I can't do all out sprints. So it's mostly longer intervals and steady swimming. And I do sprinting when I go to the lake. And I used to do it when I went to the pool, but now when I go to the lake, I do sprinting. I don't get a chance to do it in the endless pool.
Heather, thank you. So, sorry, it hasn't answered. One quick second. So, Heather, let me know if that answered your question. I have never swum in endless pools. I cannot relate to this. Khadijah, not Khadijah, excuse me, Jeri, have you ever tried endless pool or not yet? Or will you ever try it?
I use what is it called? It's kind of like Swimbox where they
Yeah.
video you. So it's the same kind of they have different current speeds and for that I was doing stroke correction since I was having a lot of pain in one shoulder and I was doing it to myself and I could see it, but then I was able to see it and feel it, with the stroke correction workshop. So that was really nice. It's really funny to do that. The first time it just kind of just blew me to the other side of the pool, and then I'm like, oh, okay. I gotta swim. But yeah, I would love one in my house. So if you want to come to my house, Khadijah, you're welcome to stay a year and help me build an endless pool.
But I do that too. I film myself. I have an underwater camera, and just like she said, and I'll hang it from the vent above the pool, and I can see where you're making mistakes, and it can help you swim a lot smoother. And smoothness and relaxation is speed in the water.
And that reminds me, Jay reminds me of, so Heather, if you're still here, I see Swimbox on Instagram. I'm currently training with them. So I did swim like one time and I'm working with them to hopefully work with clients. But yes, the experience is like a little bit different because you have the current of the water, and they can also help you if you would like to get professional swimming coaches help as well. Let's see. Khadijah, it varies. Gina. Okay. Are there any questions? Heather, yes, we shared her Instagram handle. We're there. Awesome. So please stay tuned and follow up with, you can follow me on Be Fit for Akhira. I have a private Facebook group with workouts right now. Purposeful Fitness with Coach Ola. Jeri is at Modestly Trying. Love that. And then Khadijah is at Khadijah Triathlete. Thank you so much for everyone who's attending. Let me know if you have any final questions. We do have a few audience right now. Did everything got answered here? Khadijah and Jeri, do you have any final remarks that you would like to share, like before we wrap this up? If it's like one thing that you would like to share. I'm putting this one. Okay, Jeri.
Who's gonna go?
I'll go first. Okay, Jeri, go ahead.
Oh wow, I don't know. Just have fun. Have fun. Just do it for the love of the game. I tell people all the time, even if I was losing, I'd still be racing. And even if, back of the pack racing, just do you, be you, have fun.
And from the back of the pack, I would say it's all fun back here. Don't worry. No, but yeah, I go all out racing. It's just, I love the competition too. I really enjoy it, but I just hope that that maybe this gives people some confidence to actually get out there and try something new. You don't have to be amazing the first time you do it. Who is? But go out and do your best, and find out that they're probably the limits that you had set in your mind aren't really there.
Not even there. Yeah. And Jeri has some amazing inspirational quotes on her Instagram site. I'm not quite as creative as she is, so it's kind of dry, but yeah. But yeah.
I'm surprised you read those, Khadijah. You said you don't always read those.
I started, remember I started reading. I read all the way to the end.
From my perspective, I just want to say a huge thank you to both of you, to everyone that is currently attending that will hopefully watch the replays. This is my first time ever putting like this campaign together. So thank you so much for helping me step out of my comfort zone. And until I'll do an actual real triathlon one day. But that's all I want to say. Step out of your comfort zone, find a cause that you believe in and find people they can like look up to, learn from, mentors. I look up to you, both of you, as like my mentors. You know, you've been in this game longer than I have, so I am learning about the triathlon world. It is a lot of work, a lot of dedication. So both of you being a mom, you know, it's much respect. So we are wrapping up. I am going to stop recording right now, and